Hey listeners, welcome back. I'm Aislinn Green, Associate Director of Podcasts here at Afar, and today we're returning to the story of Tom Tursich, his dog Savannah, and their 7-year walk around the world. If you haven't listened to last week's episode yet, I highly recommend starting there, because for these 2 episodes, we turn things over to Jason Moore, host of the Zero to Travel podcast, who interviewed Tom 3 times over the course of 6 years. Last week, we heard from Tom 15 months into his journey, and we heard part of Tom and Jason's conversation more than 3 years into Tom's walk. Today, we'll hear the rest of their conversation, including their final chat, which took place in 2022 after Tom finally finished his walk 7 years after he first began. Let's get going.
How are you enjoying the lifestyle of being on the road? I'm not comparing it to like the other lifestyle you could have, but just taking it for what it is. How are you enjoying it?
It's like the greatest thing ever. It's amazing. I mean, I think even just the physical aspect, I'm using my body 8 hours a day. And that's something I think we forget, that where we came from evolutionary, we're runners and we were hunters and we were always using our body. And it's just so good for you. Feel so good. When I'm on the road, besides this terrible illness, which was a freak thing, I'm never sick. I don't get the sniffles. I never get congested. I feel good all the time. My brain is sharp. And when I get in my tent at night, I'm tired. I'm ready to sleep. And when I wake up, I got a full night's sleep. I feel good. There's a certain amount of regularity, which is nice. And so I wake up, eat, walk, find a place to sleep. And so I do have my rhythms. But within my rhythm, every day is something different. And I meet a different person or have different food. So it's like the perfect balance of scheduling and control versus serendipity and being open to things happening.
Are you disconnected? You're doing blogging, obviously. You have your computer with you, I'm guessing?
Yep.
Do you have a smartphone with you?
Yep.
How much are you on those types of things? I mean, it sounds like you're listening to podcasts a lot of the day. Tell me about your relationship with technology while you travel.
Yeah, I listen to podcasts pretty much all day. I'll go hours without listening to it, and it's a little more meditative. But technology, it's crucial. I mean, my phone is the ultimate Swiss Army knife, and so it's got the GPS in it, it's got a flashlight, it's got music, it's got podcasts. It's got weather, it's got everything in there. And so I bring external batteries with me to power it. I'm not like screen time on the screen all the time, but I do listen to a lot of podcasts, and it's just such a useful tool. I mean, there's no reason to go without it. In Peru, for example, going through the desert, I didn't have any service, so I usually just left my phone off most of the time, and those are really meditative, quiet hours. And I'll probably have that again in Kazakhstan and Mongolia. But it's nice when I get into a hotel to be able to call my family and connect with them for a little bit and, have a conversation in English. And yeah, it's a crazy time we're living in, man.
What do your parents think about this right now that you're so far into it?
Oh, it's just life, It's just life.
You've just become acclimated to it, essentially.
Yeah, my mom was, she was definitely more hesitant about me going before. It's her baby boy leaving on this big adventure. My dad was like, yeah, go for it, whatever. Hey, it sounds great. But now it's just...
Sounds great. Go walk around the world and see ya.
Yeah. Yeah. He's so nonchalant. Yeah, it's just life now, and I know what I'm doing, and I'm through the most dangerous countries. So, it's just normal.
Speaking of dangerous, did you experience any dangerous situations along the way so far? Or?
Yeah, in Panama, I got held up at knife point in Panama City, but it ended up working out. It was, it was fine. Nothing would happen. I got kind of backed into a shop. Another guy grabbed my backpack, which had all my important stuff in it. But amazingly, there happened to be police there, and they grabbed the guy with my backpack right away. So I got super lucky. So that was fine. And then other than that, no, I mean, every once in a while, this is another way I grew. when I'm growing up in the suburbs, everyone's nice and the town is safe, and I don't have any sort of sense for people and whether I should trust them or not in any sort of dire sense. But as I go and you meet people and you find some stranger people, some that you just don't trust. And when I'm on the road and it's just me, so I have to trust myself. And I've gotten really good at, I remember in Argentina, yeah, it was Argentina, like right after these salt flats. This guy was trying to follow me, trying to talk to me for a while, and I just didn't have a good sense about him. And before I would have probably just like put up with him, but then I was just like, dude, I'm walking alone. Leave me the hell alone. I don't want you to follow me, kind of thing like this. And then just walked on. And so there's definitely a growth where I just learned to like, I'm going to meet someone else down the road. And if you get a bad vibe from someone, I just cut it off onto the next thing. But there's definitely been nights. I mean, there's sketchy nights in Morocco, sleeping in weird places in these little valleys. And I'm just like, try and make as little noise and show as little light as possible. But no, everything, there hasn't been anything besides like getting held at a knife point in Panama City. Besides that, it's been smooth sailing.
That's good to hear. Sounds like you're getting your street smarts, I guess you would call that, right? Just kind of.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're honed.
When the spidey sense is tingling, you just speaking up instead of kind of letting it happen. And that is something you have to learn. I mean, I grew up in the suburbs as well, and just not accustomed to being in any inner city environments when you're younger. And then you have to learn, okay, well, hey, I got to kind of suss things out sometimes and protect myself. And if that means speaking up verbally or whatever, it can be a tricky thing. You also want to stay open and be able to meet people, but at the same time, you got to trust your instincts, right?
Yeah. And you want to be raised to just be polite. You got to be polite to everyone. Just be polite. Don't hurt anyone's feelings. And yeah, you don't want to be mean or anything, but if you don't get a good vibe from someone, that's okay. Just leave. You're going to meet someone else later. And that's the thing too. Yeah, you want to be open to things, but you're going to meet plenty of people when you're traveling. You don't have to trust every single person.
Right. How about kindness of strangers? Because we talked about some of the dangerous stuff, but I'm sure you've had plenty of that. You want to share a story or two, some amazing serendipitous things, or just really nice people that have helped you out along the way?
I mean, in a general sense, it's just endless. I mean, I've been helped so many times on the road, people stopping to give me food. I've been brought in probably every country I passed through, someone has given me a place to stay. On the scale, on statistically, so much, like a million to one good bad things happening. And I think people forget about that. When you see the news, it's very easy to blow up things in your head that the world's a dangerous place, but people are just people everywhere. In Algeria, I mean, the Muslim culture, they're really, really welcoming. They're extremely, when you're in their home, they really go out of their way to make you feel welcome. And so going through Algeria, I have a MasterCard debit card, and there was only like 3 cities or maybe 4 cities that had a bank where I could withdraw money from with MasterCard. And I didn't realize that. I had a bunch of money, cash coming in because I knew I needed cash. And then I was able to stay with some friends of friends in their houses at the beginning. So I wasn't spending that much money. And I get to Algiers, which is the capital. There's an ATM there. I think, I have money. I don't need it. I'm fine. And I didn't know at this point that the MasterCard was the only way to, I needed certain banks to withdraw money. And then so I start walking again, and I find myself, the police are saying, you need a hotel every night. I found myself going through my cash really quick. And I found myself in a hotel without any money, basically. And I text my friend of a friend who's on the other side of the country. I'm like, hey, dude, I don't have any cash. Like, do you know options, ways to, anything I can do? And he's like, hold on 1 second. I'll have someone drive some money out to you right now. So he makes some calls. He knows a guy out there, and this guy drives so far out of his way up into the mountains and just gives me essentially $100 in Algerian dinar. And I'm like, oh, thank you much. I'll pay you, give me email or something. I'll pay you back. He's like, don't worry about it. It's fine. Take it.
Really?
And yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. And I mean, it was so far out of the way. And this guy, who I had no idea who this guy was, and he just drove out of the way, just give me some money and said, hey, that's it. And in Algeria too, I got put up all the time, and like youth hostels and stuff like that. I'd when there wasn't a hotel somewhere, or even at hotels sometimes, I'd just be like, "Oh no, don't worry about it. Stay for free. It's on us." And like more than any other place, I got like welcomed and put up places for free.
How is the money situation holding up? I mean, had the sickness and everything. I don't know if that was the whole unexpected expense or if you had travel insurance. How is the whole money thing working out for you?
Yeah, when I got sick, it brought me down. I had some like emergency exactly for this saved up, some emergency funds saved up, but that depleted it all. And then so I basically got a couple jobs. Once I started getting healthier, I don't remember what I was doing. I was just doing like odd jobs for a friend of a friend, like working on a house just to get a little bit of cash. But I think I had my sponsor. And once I started up again, they started giving me payments, and it's not a ton. It was enough for South America, Central America. But like I said, with my Patreon now, I send people postcards. I send them touch notes, which are like postcards that I can send from my phone, and they arrive in the mail to them. And so that takes a lot of the pressure off. So I'm good now. The Patreon helps a lot. And I'm not to say that I should have done it from the beginning, but I'm very glad I have it now because I can relax a little bit and I'm good. I'm not a wealthy man, but I'm just walking and camping most of the time, so I can breathe.
That's great. And you got good companionship, I guess, with yourself, your podcast, and your dog, of course, which is great to hear that Savannah's doing well. I mean, it's pretty amazing that you've been able to get her into all these countries as well. I mean, it sounds like you've obviously done the legwork with the paperwork and everything like that, but has that been challenging at all, having a dog with you?
It's not as challenging as you would think. The common question is when you're traveling, like first off, the paperwork. The paperwork, if you're going to Europe, it's a little difficult. But when you're traveling overland, if you're flying somewhere, you really need to have like the proper paperwork in order. But when you're traveling overland through Central America or South America, generally you just need like a basic health certificate and the rabies vax, and so it's really easy. Half the countries didn't even acknowledge her. And then the other thing is like the hotels. When you're in a developed country, you can always find a hotel that's pet friendly. And if you're not in a developed country where they don't like dogs generally, it's more street dogs, it's a mom and pop who own the hotel. So you can just convince them and you just say, look, I'm going to leave. I'll sleep somewhere else. She's a fine dog kind of thing. And, they want your money. And so you just convince them and they let them in. And yeah, those are the two big things. And I think with the hotels, it's just a matter of standing your grounds and just really just being ready to leave if you need to. And with the transporting, it's just you got to put the time in. The longest I spent was a month to get Savannah into Europe, and then she's in, and she has an EU passport, and it's a piece of cake now.
Does she ever lose steam when you're walking before you do? Has she figured out she can ride on the cart yet?
Yeah. She doesn't know that. Don't tell her. No, man, she's like, I finish the day and I sit down at the end of the day. I'm like exhausted. I'm like, I can't wait to eat. I just want to sit down. And she grabs a stick and comes over, like wants to play. I'm like, we just walked 25 miles and you still want to play. She's endless. Yeah.
She might be the first dog that walks around the world when you finish this, actually.
I think she will be. She's the first to do the Americas. I think she will be the first to do the world.
That's awesome, man. Well, it's been so great catching up with you. I mean, I could talk to you all day and get more stories, and I would love to keep going, but I want to respect your time as well. And it will really be great to get you on again when you get to the States and you're coming towards the final push, or maybe at some point then. So we should definitely connect. I don't know, man. I'd love to. I could go visit my family, maybe even be there when you cross the finish line, man. It would be great to meet you in person.
Yeah.
But we'll be following along, and the website, again, theworldwalk.com. And Tom, it's always a pleasure catching up with you, man. Sometimes I just be in the middle of my day and I'll just think about you and I'll be like, man, I hope Tom's doing good out there. And it sounds like you are, and I'm so glad you're just recovered from all that, and sending you the best on the rest of your journey, my man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's always great talking to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And did I leave anything out, or?
No, that's it. That's good, man. Yeah,
That's it.
We covered a lot of grounds.
All right, buddy. Well, you've covered a lot of ground. Good luck,
That's
man.
the truth. That's the truth.
We'll chat soon.
All right, sounds good.
Now, here's the final chapter in the World Walk trilogy. You'll hear my interview with Tom from August 2022, just after he finished his walk around the world. Please enjoy. I'm starting to tear. Like, I was tearing up looking at the pictures of you guys all tearing up, like with your family and your friends and the big group of people you had coming across the finish line that day, and just like having followed you for all these years and like reading your stuff and knowing a bit about what you've been through as much as I can as an outsider and through the conversations we've had. Congratulations, man. First of all.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Huge congrats on finishing the walk. Just to give people some perspective, at the time of this recording right now, how long has it been since you crossed the finish line where you started to your home in Haddon Township, New Jersey?
I mean, it's only been about 2.5 months since I crossed the finish line. So it hasn't been very long that I've been back, which is strange because it kind of feels like forever, but it doesn't feel like any time at all also.
Well, I have questions about that and time and some other things a little later on the show. I should give you a little formal welcome here. I'm beyond excited to welcome back to the show for the third time Tom Tursich, who recently finished, as you heard, walking around the world with his dog, Savannah. Only the 10th person to do so. Savannah is the first dog to walk around the world. I highly encourage you to check out Tom's writing and the photos from his journey over at theworldwalk.com, and you can get links to all the socials and all that good stuff. 7 years, 6 continents. Tom, welcome back to the Zero to Travel podcast, my friend.
Thanks for having me. My favorite podcast.
Thank you. Third time, it's a true friend of the show here. So I really appreciate it. And of course, we're going to have you back on when you publish your book. So much to talk about today. And I guess I kind of wanted to start with the sort of the last leg, because part of our interview series here is like the Tom trilogy, right? Like we've got going on, was a bit of the chronology and kind of following your path of your actual journey. And the last time we spoke was when you were in Croatia, like visiting some cousins and some relatives. You told us about, all the stuff you went through with your health and everything and all the stuff that happened there. By the way, has there been any issues? I've been just hoping, I haven't seen anything. I'm hoping that you're okay. None of that stuff ever came back.
Yeah, no, nothing. Never had any more health issues after that. So thankfully I was able to put that behind me.
Cool. Did you follow your intended path from Croatia? Because you said you were going to be going through like Greece, Turkey, Georgia, Australia. Did you stick to that plan?
No, I wasn't able to entirely because of COVID. I wasn't able to get into Kazakhstan or Mongolia or Australia because of COVID. I walked over from Croatia to Azerbaijan. So it was like Montenegro, Albania, Greece, Turkey, Georgia, and Azerbaijan. When I got into Azerbaijan, then COVID, struck, and Azerbaijan is such a small country that I was stuck in there. Every country around it closed, and there was no flights in or out. So I ended up getting stuck in Azerbaijan for like 6 months.
Really?
Yeah, totally locked in there. But it was a good place to be stuck. It was pretty affordable and peaceful and quiet, and so it was okay. But ultimately, once I got the vaccine, almost a year later, I was able to get to Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan and walk those two Central Asian countries. But then Kazakhstan, Mongolia were still closed. Australia still closed. So I wasn't able to do the route exactly as I had planned. But at this point, it had already been 6 years of walking and traveling. And I, hit 6 of the 7 continents and said, all right, time to return home and walk that last leg from Seattle back to New Jersey.
Yeah. You know how every state has like their motto? Is that the tagline for Azerbaijan, a good place to be stuck?
It would be a good motto. That's a great one.
I mean, I guess when you embark on a journey like walking around the world, you kind of expect that things are going to change and happen, but you don't necessarily expect a global pandemic.
Yeah, I was thinking about it because I guess, a pandemic, what happens, I don't know, maybe once every 100 years or so, or maybe like less frequently than that. But so say I'm walking six years, it's like, there's decent odds that I hit it, but not great odds.
Yeah. So when everything sort of went down, I guess for what you were trying to accomplish, what you did accomplish, how did you navigate that, like sort of mindset wise and strategically?
The being stuck in Azerbaijan definitely, it definitely changed my mindset because I was on such a roll leading up to there, crossing Turkey and Georgia, and I was excited to start walking up to Mongolia. And in that section of the world, going from Azerbaijan to Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, and then in Mongolia, like walking, I had a pretty tight window to do it in, just because of the weather. And so I waited through winter. And then when like March was coming around, all right, okay, now it's time to like make my break up to Ulaanbaatar. And basically started, like hyped up, ready to go. And then it was like COVID as soon as I got into Azerbaijan. So it really took like kind of the momentum away. And then being stuck there, I ended up living. I met this girl from Switzerland, and she was an international teacher there, and great person. And we ended up living together for those 6 months, and that as well really sort of had me looking forward to a life after the walk. So it was really difficult to balance like this need to finish the world walk, which was still a long way off. I mean, even just walking across the US was 7 months, and I still wanted to do more of Central Asia, and there was still COVID. And so I didn't know where it was. But I started like imagining what life would be like after the walk, after I had, and during when I was living in Azerbaijan with this girl. So it definitely made it it made it difficult in a certain way because it really is so mental, just being out there on my own and in strange places for years and years and years. You really got to be mentally tight.
Yeah, you're getting a taste of a relationship and what life on the other side looks like in a real visceral way. It's not just, you're walking down the street, you're like, I remember in the last podcast you were saying there was a period of time when you were like imagining the house you were going to build and stuff like that. And then you kind of got through that realizing like, okay, well, later on when I'm settled down, this is done, then I can have that stuff. And then you kind of like push through. But this wasn't just in your head. I mean, you were making a connection, and part of the thing you had to do to start the walk from what I know about your story is having to break up with somebody who you were in love with, who you would have married.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the walk, it was about, giving up things to see the world. And I think that there's a lot of goals and dreams and people who travel who do the same thing. And, people are small and you only can do so much, you can only live one life. So you have to make certain choices. And that means leaving some things behind. But with the World Walk in particular, it's I really had to kind of leave everything behind because it's not, I want to climb a couple mountains or I want to do a PhD program. Like if you're doing those things, maybe even a PhD program, which is very intensive, like you still have a community around you. You still have a roof over your head. You can still probably, get drinks with your friends. And the World Walk was, you had to leave everything behind and just like be on my own. That's why it was so nice having Savannah with me, because at least I had a consistent companion that way. But then after so many years of being on my own, and like you said, getting that real taste of maybe like what life could be like afterwards in Azerbaijan, it made the rest of the walking in Uzbekistan, and I returned to Turkey and did some more walking in Turkey during COVID. And then in Kyrgyzstan, it made it really heavy. And, the entire time I was just kind of looking forward to, it was difficult to be present. I was really looking forward to just what kind of came next at that point.
Yeah. Like getting it over with in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was just like, let's finish this thing, and it was such a transition, and I didn't want it to be that way, but that's how it was. And there's a certain, I don't know, there's something about that, I guess, is kind of nice. It's such a massive adventure. And, at a certain point, you got to be really tested. And, I was tested a lot physically, and the illness, I was tested a lot. But even like walking across the US, like when I landed in the US, so Kyrgyzstan was the last country I walked abroad. I landed in Seattle. And when I landed in Seattle, it felt like this armor that I had been wearing to protect myself while abroad. When you're abroad, you're in someone else's home and their culture, and you don't speak the language, or even if you do, you don't know the culture perfectly, and you don't want to step on any toes. And so you're always just kind of on the defensive. And then especially when I'm with myself, and then I have Savannah that I have to look after, I have all this armor kind of built up to get me through these places. And not to say that I'm cold, but, you just have to, be on your toes. And when I got to Seattle, it kind of all fell away. I remember looking out the window just in the cab ride to a friend's house, and looking out and seeing, just the U.S. and knowing that I was home in my own culture, and where everyone spoke, the same language that I do, and I wouldn't have to worry about, fumbling over my words in a grocery store, or not being able to express myself perfectly, or just there being some misunderstanding because I didn't speak the language. And it was like all of a sudden I was totally raw, and I could see kind of how much I had went through and how much I had changed over so many years. And the first 3-4 months of walking in the US were insanely difficult. And it was all because it was mental and emotional, and I was processing everything that I had been through. It was the most difficult section of the walk. It was actually just being back home. And again, all because it was mental.
I read the post on your site, The Weight of All the Years, and we talk about shedding the armor. Just from that, you were saying, how many hits had I taken? I'm quoting the post now. No close bonds, no love, no Sunday dinners, no drinks with friends, the careful separation, the practiced stoicism, the ports I had to leave it again and again. The dull pain of it all was unbelievable. This is part of to use some of your words you used before in one of your other posts, or maybe it was the same post, this idea of this self-imposed solitude, which is built into the walk that you were doing. It sounds to me like when you hit Seattle, yeah, maybe that happened just because you were able to let go of the logistical tightness you needed to have, right? Like you're like, okay, I have this familiarity with where I'm at. There's that element of when you're traveling in another country and you're, like you said, you're always on your toes, like, because you're not totally familiar. You don't exactly know when you wander into certain neighborhoods and things like that. You have to kind of be vigilant in some ways a lot. And if you're not guarded that way anymore, it opens up the other stuff, I guess. Sounds like it did for you anyway.
I think that's right. So it's pretty accurate. It was such a big project as well. And, whenever you're doing a big project, there's lots of challenges throughout it. I mean, so it's being sick in catching that illness after South America, or pushing through the desert in South America, or like going through Central America, through the jungle, and like being worried about, gang violence, and then seeing family in Ireland, seeing family in Croatia. And, there's so many, there's so much that I had experienced, kind of thing. And then, to land at home. And in my mind at that point, when I landed in Seattle, it was kind of like, oh, the walk's already over in a certain way. I mean, obviously it wasn't. It was like, I'm home. This is the easiest part. I can relax now. And I was actually, in hindsight, it was a great thing that I didn't just fly home and just like call it It was a really good thing that I ended up walking across the US because it allowed me this space to process what it was going to be like to end it. I think if I had just landed in New Jersey and that was the end of it, it would have been a really, really challenging end. And it would have been really challenging to process everything. But yeah, for those first couple months, it was just working through. It was just working through really like how much I had changed, how much I had went through. And then also like the US ended up like not being nearly as easy to walk across as I thought it was going to be. But it's partially my own doing. I walked Wyoming in November, which was just insane. It's at 8,000 feet and constant 60, 70 mile per hour winds and snow and everything else. And then I was in Kansas in January and February. And so it was brutal. It was really difficult walking, which I also, in a strange way, was looking forward to. I wanted some really difficult winter walking. I'm not sure why, maybe just for some sort of change. But in the middle of that, when the days are short and it's cold and I'm in my tent for, 14 hours a day or longer sometimes, just because it's too cold to be out before the sun is up. And then before the sun is even down, it's too cold to kind of be out. And I'll be in my sleeping bag and I have Savannah in her sleeping bag and we'll be all bundled up and just like laying there. It's too cold to even read or anything and just staring at the tent. But like something about that was a nice challenge. And I don't know, something different than, some sort of challenge built into the walk across America, which otherwise would be pretty calm.
Yeah. You were 22 when you left, right? And how old are you now?
26 or 25 and then 26. Yeah.
Okay. And how old are you now?
33. Yeah. So, I mean, who knows if it's even like the walk changed me, which it definitely did, but you can't parse in between just growing up into being an actual adult versus, just traveling and having all these experiences and that changing you as well. So who knows, which is which and, how I changed in what way and from what cause, but there's a lot of change. And I think 33 is time to slow down a little bit.
Well, so one might argue that walking is about the slowest form of transportation you can do. So you've been slowing down the whole time, man. I know what you mean, kind of getting off the road. Yeah. Well, I do have a whole little segment planned on how this walk has changed you. So I mean, that's something we should probably get into now since we're on the topic. But I did want to quote a little line from your last Instagram post. You said the walk was a dream. And I thought that was interesting because you don't say it felt like a dream. You say it was a dream. Is there a distinction there or is that just semantics?
No, I think that's very astute, very perceptive of you. Yeah. It was a dream in multiple ways. It was a dream that I had after my friend Anne-Marie passed. And when I thought about, how to live a full life, it was a dream in that way. And it was a dream in the sense of that it was almost just surreal. Like it's an insane adventure. I think about it looking back, I was like, this is an insane thing to do. You walked across Central America and down South America. It's like, that is insane. Like, even it does not feel real to me. I was like, you did that? I did that? That's so crazy. And so in that way, it's a dream, like as in it's surreal. In a certain way, it doesn't feel like a dream because each day is just a kind of another day out there and everything is very real when you're out there and you feel, the stress of finding a place to camp each night or the beauty of finding a really great campsite or a place to hang out for a bit or stumbling across a mosque in Uzbekistan and being given shelter in the midday heat. And so like the day to day, you really feel, I felt everything. And, there's a lot of beauty in it, but there's a lot of challenge as well. And so in that way, it's not like, oh, this whole thing is just this dream that you're just kind of floating through. It's like this huge big, challenging task. And that's how it felt. And that's why by the end, I was so like relieved for the end of it.
Of course, big reason why we travel, I think, in these types of adventures, or, you know, even if it's not so extreme, somebody listening, it might be your own version of that, right? Maybe throwing on a backpack, taking a solo trip, whatever. That idea of being out and, like you said, things are happening. It's real. There's challenges. It gets you out of the routines and the sort of the culture that you're in, and it can put you in a completely foreign place, literally, but also that does a lot mentally, of course. And you've already touched on a little bit about how the walk has changed you. I know 2.5 months since it's ended. I wanted to just do I'm calling it a mini segment, but it's much deeper than that. The thing is, like, I saw your interview on the Today Show, and like all the things, you know, that are happening, all the media is getting their sound bites and stuff, but you can't soundbite an experience of this depth and length, right? Like, it's very difficult. So what we want to do here is what we're doing right now is kind of getting a little deeper on this stuff. And I'm just going to ask you how the walk has changed your relationship with some different things, if at all. If it hasn't, obviously just say so. The first one, I'm wondering how the walk and the whole experience has changed your relationship with time, or you could maybe say the rhythm of life.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the segment. That's a great idea. It'll help me parse my own thoughts as well. My relationship with time. So when I was walking, time is really slow, which I think is the great benefit of it. So they say that as you get older, you perceive time as moving quicker because you have less novel experiences. And so looking back, there's kind of just less bumps in your life, or less newness. And so when I look back at the walk, and it was 7 years, and when I was walking across, say, the U.S., it felt like 20 years. It felt like it had been 20 years of walking, because each day is just so packed with things. And already being home, I feel like time is moving quicker here, because I get into some sort of rhythm, and I'm working on, putting this book proposal, or the book proposal's out, but working on the book, and like getting into a rhythm that way. And so it seems like, just that there's less novelty and less serendipity. So I guess it's made me perceive time in that way. And it's one of the benefits of traveling is that, you can experience a lot in a really short amount of time, and it can change you a lot really quickly. And that's why I think when people look back on these trips that they've taken, and they seem so just alive and almost bursting at the seams, and really impactful for people, it's because there's all this newness there, and there's all these things that they had to process. And so for the walk, for me, was that time 7 years.
Yeah. And now the lack of novelty, I don't know if that's worn off, but the lack of novelty and the predictability of the everyday life right now is kind of a novelty to you. At least I'm sure it was in the beginning. Has that worn off? Does it feel like you're...
I would say it's still there a little bit, where it's still really nice to be in a bed and have a roof over my head and to be with family and friends. And there is a part of me already that is like kind of itching to travel, or for just something different. And I think that'll kind of never leave me. I think that's just kind of part of who I am, is that, I'm looking for the next thing to occupy me, or then maybe the next project. And also, I just kind of miss, in a certain way, like just being outside all the time. It just feels better than being inside all the time, on some really visceral kind of human primordial level. I kind of miss that. But otherwise, no, I'd say it's pretty nice just being inside. And especially now, it's like 99 degrees here, and I'm in the air conditioning. Savannah's in the air conditioning. It's like, that's fine with me. I can live with that.
How about the relationship with your body?
I think even when I left, had an appreciation for my body. You know, I'd been an athlete kind of my whole life, played college tennis, but I also knew that I wanted to push my body and I wanted to test it. And you know, they say the greatest machine, you know, there is, and it's your machine, and it seems like such a waste to let this incredible machine, you know, not go test it. And so for me, you know, I have a great appreciation. I think I've always had a good appreciation for kind of the human body and you know, wanting to maintain it and keep myself healthy and push it physically. But I don't know if it's changed so much. But it now, just being 33 versus being 26, it's more about maintaining the body. And it's like, I got to do more stretches than I did before. It's like, I got to keep this thing running for as long as possible and as good a shape as possible. And the walk was really great for that. I mean, I'm in very good shape, and it was, you know, it's low impact. It's not like I'm running and the knees are going or anything like that, but kept me in good shape. And, but, you know, as far as the relationship, I'd say it stayed the same. And I've a lot of appreciation for what the human body can do.
Yeah. Do you think it exceeded what your expectation was of what you could accomplish in terms of the physical nature of the expedition?
It is amazing that there was about a year and a half where I walked almost a mile and a half every day. Like the first year and a half, I was just an absolute maniac and so on fire with the idea of walking around the world and ready to prove to myself and everyone else that I could do it. And I would walk 24, 25 miles every single day. And you know, took the first year, I took, I think, just 3 weeks off in the whole year. And the rest of the time I was walking and camping and walking and camping. And so that is incredible. That's just like some amazing that, you know, I was walking 8 hours a day, every day. And the body was like, yeah, okay, you can handle this. No problem. Just make sure you eat 5,000 calories or whatever it takes. But now, like walking across the US and especially in winter, I did get an appreciation for, I think one of the great things that the walk really revealed to me, or maybe even just confirmed, I think I kind of believed it before leaving, is to really, to live a happy, fulfilled life, you really have to lean into your humanness. And I think with technology and with just kind of, you know, like the modern economy where you work these office jobs or, you know, you work digitally, it's really easy to feel like you need to be a robot and just, you know, grind away for 8 hours a day on the computer, or, you know, or just you're sitting down for 8 hours a day, whatever that is. But like being out in the sun and getting exercise every day, you know, it's great. I mean, I was really happy out there, and you felt good. I mean, almost all, even when I didn't feel good mentally and I wasn't in a good place mentally, you felt pretty good in the background. And then really, like in Wyoming and in Kansas, when I was walking across the Great Plains in winter, I was just dragging, and I kept thinking, I was like, wow, what is going on? Like, why do I feel so bad? And it's like, because you have, you know, 50-mile-per-hour winds blasting you in the face every day. And, you know, it's 30 degrees and you're in your tent for 13, 14 hours a day, whatever it is. You know, and so that was kind of this humbling lesson where I thought kind of I could just overpower anything with just, you know, with my willpower, and just like, I should be feeling better just because I want to be feeling better. But no, it's like, it's tough to walk through. There's winds in the cold, and, you know, be on your own in, you know, on the Great Plains winter. And then as soon as it started getting sunny again, I was like, man, why do I feel so good all of a sudden? It's like, just because it's sunny and you're not walking through the winter anymore. So, you know, it's just a lesson in just, you know, you kind of have to play to, you know, what works for the, you know, your flawed human body.
That human need for sunshine, getting outside. I like how you said that even when you didn't feel good mentally, in the background, you still felt good is how you explained it. And I think that's an interesting way to think about it, because you're getting that essential need for your body and sort of like your soul on that visceral level, just to be outside, like you said, it is part of our nature. So it's just get outside, I guess. It's just it's an endorsement for getting back outside. I don't know.
there were so many times, man, where, I had a really tough day and I would be exhausted at the end of the day. And then I would sit down at camp and I was exhausted and I was tired and I was probably in like a bad mood. I may have been flipping off cars like half the day and, screaming at the air. And I would sit down at camp with Savannah at the end of the day outside, and it was just great. And I felt great. Even then, when I was just pissed off and in a bad mood, I was like, this is still great. And I love being out here, and my body's tired, and I'm going to go lay down, and it's going to feel so nice when I lay down, and I can't wait for that.
It's the best kind of tired. When I'm slogging through the Norwegian winter, I'm going to think about you, Tom. I'm going to be like, well, if Tom can walk into like 60-mile-an-hour winds across the plains of Montana in the middle of the winter, I can certainly walk my kid to daycare on this freezing cold day.
You appreciate being inside, that's for sure.
I like that the East Coast New Jersey part of you, the sort of the angsty flipping off cars part, still didn't leave, right? You didn't become like this walking Zen monk. You're just like, finger up, get out of my way.
I have such a loathing for cars anymore. That is so built into me. So no, that's not leaving. And the way
have you driven a car since you've been back?
Yeah, I've driven cars, but yeah.
Well, you didn't not drive a car for all those years, I guess.
Yeah, no, there's times I, whatever, to get paperwork or something like that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. How about how you see your home country in the U.S.?
It's funny because when I landed in the U.S., after a couple of weeks, I ended up meeting this girl, Bonnie, who I'm dating now, and be moving out to Seattle with her in a couple of weeks.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So I met her just a couple of weeks in, and
where?
In this little Washington Valley, Winthrop. She was in OMAC. She was in a family medicine rotation in like a desert valley in OMAC, and there's just nothing there. And I was in this other valley writing, nothing there. And so we just met we were both in the middle of nowhere. And,
but where did you meet?
We met through Tinder. Yeah. It's the second time I think I ever used Tinder. And I was just like, feeling the loneliness and solitude. I was like, all right, I'm going to download Tinder. And then I get on there and there's like 4 options, and she was on there, and, she was awesome. And we just hit it off. And then she kind of followed me around the country for a little bit as well. So
please tell me you had, walked around the world on your Tinder bio. Please
I did. Yeah,
I mean, people must be like, yeah, right, sure he did, and this probably isn't his real picture.
Yeah. I didn't get enough use out of it as I probably could have. I should have had it throughout the whole world, but it just seemed I'm more about the IRL meetups than the Tinder one. But it worked. It served its purpose. It was great. But when we first met, when my girlfriend Bonnie and I first met, she was saying how I was just really giving her like a new appreciation for America and how great it was. And it was true, because after, being in Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan, which are pretty, I guess they're probably low income countries, and, just being abroad, it's different than being home. And Uzbekistan in particular, a very strange country, just because how closed off it's been, and how it's just opening up to the world. And Kyrgyzstan as well, just because it's all mountains, so it's really difficult living there. But then ended just being abroad and coming back to the U.S. and the U.S. is just so insanely wealthy. It is crazy. And the food, there's so much food everywhere and such highly caloric food. And so the wealth was just kind of blowing my mind at the time, because it had been such a long time where I'd been somewhere where it's like, wow, these are the houses that everyone lives in. This is crazy. And these are the cars everyone drives, and this is the infrastructure. And so at the time it was, I was really overflowing with a lot of appreciation for the U.S. And then also like Washington State itself is just beautiful. I mean, it matches anywhere in the world for its beauty. Like the Northern Cascades are incredible, and then every valley is just this new, ecosystem and beautiful in its own right. And but at the same time, because it's my home, and as time was on, and as that kind of just like that return kind of wore off. And I am, very politically engaged, and especially through walking, I have, a real appreciation for geopolitics and just the effect of laws on people. I mean, that's one of the great lessons from walking around the world is that like people are really tiny, and basically all of everyone's life is just decided by the geography they're born into and then the systems that are in place. And so I have like a real appreciation for these larger systems and, whether they work or they don't work and whether they benefit just the common man or they don't. And so, these are things I'm really, concerned about and aware of. And so, yeah, being in the U.S., I can criticize it because it's my home. And that's one of the great things about that's one of the great things about America is that you can criticize it. And I am going to criticize it forever because I want to make it a better place. And so, now it's kind of this mix of, yes, I have a great appreciation for it. And also I recognize that I wouldn't have done the world walk if I wasn't born in the US. I have a strong passport. I was born in the Northeast, a very, very wealthy part of the world, and got a good education here. So I have to be appreciative for what the US gave me. But also, when, there's, I wish it was a more pure democracy. And I have a lot of other complaints and wish it wasn't so car dependent and, upon 1,000 other things. But now look, America's a great place and mostly because, you can get to criticize it.
Not that you have to decide where you are going to live forever after spending so much time out in the world. Do you think your home country of America is a place that you might spend the majority of your time if you're quote unquote settling down? Of course, we don't know what the future is going to bring, but just like sort of your gut instinct on that. I'm just curious.
I think I would live in the Northeast. I like the Northeast because I like the people in the Northeast where they're very direct and kind of just don't beat around the bush. And so that is satisfying in a way. But then also there's a great education system here and, it's generally safer than, some other parts of the U.S. I mean, maybe that's not true. The rural parts are, safe as anywhere. But no, mainly about education. So if I have a kid or something and want to live in, New Jersey or Mass or Connecticut, somewhere with a really good school program. But also I'm dying to I never want to get in a car and I just want to ride my bike or walk everywhere. And you kind of can only do that. I don't know, the Northeast is okay for that, but it could be better just because it's so densely populated. But I definitely part of me is really, of course, drawn to Europe. I would love to live in, the Netherlands or Denmark, which I loved, or Switzerland, somewhere where, you can just live without being dominated by cars. I think it just makes for a much nicer life.
It does. Yeah. When I lived somewhere after traveling around for a long time, I picked Boulder, Colorado in the US because of the bike paths and the fact that you could just walk or bike a lot of places and you didn't have to have a car and that lifestyle. I wish that was built into more cities in the US. I think for some cities it's getting there, but it's so freeing to not have to get into your car for everything. And when I go to visit my mom in the suburbs, and I walk to town because it's a mile away, you have to cross a major interstate.
Yeah.
And nobody's walking. Nobody walks to town. It's truly unbelievable. And it is right there, but nobody does it. They just don't.
No, yeah. Yeah. It's difficult and it's not pleasant. It's not as pleasant walking either. That's why they don't do it because there's cars and it's loud and it's polluted and, so yeah, that's the one thing, well, among many, but that I would love to. Like, but when I was in Denmark, I stayed in Denmark for 2 weeks before beginning that European leg of the walk. And I stayed there with a friend. And, you're just riding around everywhere on the bike, and it just feels like you're in high school again, especially when you're with your friends. You're just scooting around, getting a drink, riding around. Yeah, it's great. So why would you not want this existence?
Yeah. It's awesome to hear that, after walking around the world, you're just like, yeah, I'd probably live somewhere in the Northeast, Yeah. right back where you started in New Jersey. There's no better place in the world than New Jersey.
I mean, the thing is, I have a huge family, and so that's the main thing as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course,
it's difficult to be anywhere else especially in the U.S. It just feels absurd to end up anywhere else, not where I'm with my 50 cousins and 14, 15 aunts and uncles. And, so it just seems absurd. Why would I be anywhere else when you could go to the family parties and you have all these people to hang out with? So yeah, I mean, that's the major draw, and that's what matters. It's good to go away and travel and see the world. And, and I think, like not everyone has everything. And we're having this conversation with a friend who visited me in Costa Rica when I was walking down there. And, like this is the same thing as just like people are small and you have to make choices and you have to, sacrifice some things if you want something else. It's just the way it works. It just people are small and life is really big and complex. And that's a part of it. It's built in. There's no way around it. Like you're just going to have to accept that. But then that also goes to like, some people are born with some things that other people aren't born with. And for me, like one of the great things that I have in my life is I have this great family and I have a great big family. And they're all kind of in one area and not everyone has that. And if you don't have that, then, hey, travel wherever because, you can live wherever and you can choose where you want to live. But for me, it's just such a huge draw to be back here because I do have this thing and you kind of got to, lean into that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also you've given it up for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it too. That is it too. No doubt. I mean, that's what I was missing. I was just at a family party for my uncle's family and my uncle's birthday this past Sunday. And we're at my aunt's house, and we got all the kids there, the new generation growing up and hanging out by the pool. And, that's what I was waiting for. I was waiting to be back there and just, enjoying the simple things with the family.
Cousins, aunts, uncles, nieces and nephews. If anybody needs a good story, it's like go see Uncle Tom or go see Cousin Tom. I'm sure he's got a few.
What's funny is that the thing I almost enjoy most about being back with my friends and being back with my family is that they don't ask me too explicitly about the walk. And especially just like recently, like having the walk ended and doing all these interviews and you're talking to all these people and you kind of get asked the same questions over and over again. Not to say this podcast, actually just better questions on this podcast and talking with you than just about, everyone. But you get a lot of the same stuff. And then when, I meet new people like, hey, Tom, this guy walked around the world. I'm like, oh, walked, what'd you do for the oceans? I'm like, you get that 1,000 times. But, something's nice about, being with the friends and family and you just being, Tom.
They just want to be with you. They just want to spend time with you. It's not that they don't care, but
yeah. And there's more banter and every once in a while, like if something fits in where, I have a story that relates to something, then I'll throw it in. But it's not like this is the Tom show and, I'm going to tell you all the stories that I have, which is nice. It's nice to just like, fit it in naturally to just the banter and everything else. Yeah.
Yes. You know what I think I learned over the years, or I seem to figure out, is that this is not pertaining necessarily to your family or friends or whatever, but generally when I'd come back from these, long adventures or whatever, it's like, oh, how were things, whatever, and then after like a little bit of dialogue, it's like people don't really care that much. Like they've got their own lives. Like it's great to hear. I mean, they care in the sense that they care about you, but the travels that the experiences that you had and that transformed you are more important to you than they are to anybody else, of course. And that's just the way it is. And like you said, it's cool. It's just like, let's just hang out. I don't need to reflect on all this stuff. Like, I just missed you. Let's just hang out together. And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you said it well. I mean, all the experiences and all the challenges that you faced, that's all your stuff. And, they can ask a little bit about it, but, really, like you said, they're living their own life too.
Yeah. So, I mean, this was one of the questions I had, how it maybe has changed your relationships with friends and family.
I don't know if it's changed it much. I mean, I don't know. With friends and family, I think in a strange way, and maybe this is like arrogant, but I think it's helped my immediate family in a lot of ways and opened them up to traveling, say more than they would have, or just, a sort of resilience, especially for my sister. I mean, my sister is very strong already. She's been type 1 diabetic. She was like since 12 or something like that, or actually probably even younger. And she's always been really strong. But then she ended up moving out to Denver and living there for 5 years. And I don't know. I mean, I definitely feel like just the walk and having pushed through this such a big thing has been sort of like a point of pride for my immediate family, and it's something they see. They're proud of their son, and my sister is proud of me, and I don't know. It's difficult. It's a difficult thing to sort of separate. But as far as like a relationship, I don't know if you probably read it in one of my latest blog posts, but I remember having this conversation with this guy in Washington. And so this is actually before I met Bonnie, but he said he was a Vietnam vet, and when we met, he was like, "You look really tired," and I was like, "I am really tired." And he says, "Yeah, I could see it. You're like you're over." He's like, "I had the same look after a year of Vietnam," and I told him I wasn't at war, and he's like, "No, but it's the same thing. You've been abroad for a long time and on your own for a long time and through a lot. And, now that what really matters is, you get yourself a quiet spot and like a good woman." That's how he said it. He's like, "A little spot of land and a good woman." And there was like some truth in that. Whereas, in that relationship, in that way, I know myself in a way that I never had before. Just, I know kind of who I am, my limitations, and I've thought about what I want and been able to kind of like experiment and test over and over again what I want and what makes me happy and what I want in someone else. And now at this point, it really is just like, I am really grateful to, just in a certain way, live simply with someone. And, not to say that I won't like continue pushing myself or trying new things, and maybe I have another big project to work on. But there is, something to be said and a lot to appreciate in just having good company with you, and someone who you can hopefully go through life with, and that means your family, but also seems like it means Bonnie. And so I think I have appreciation, a deeper appreciation for having like good people in my life, and not just people, but like having good people that I've chosen, and for having a good family and being grateful for that.
You prefaced all that with saying, well, maybe this sounds arrogant, but it doesn't, because I'm sure, when you do something like you've done, people will be proud of you. Of course, I would be proud of my kids for anything. I'm proud of them for the drawings they bring home and the things. It's just that's part of human nature too. And you inspire everybody by your actions, right? I mean, the stories you tell, the writing and everything else all comes from your actions and your adventure and the intentions you've set in life and the things you've chosen to do and the way you've lived. And then you're just sharing that with people. And man, it's inspiring. It is. So I'm going to say it for you that at least I'm inspired, and your friends and family, I'm sure. And people that have been following you for a while, we're inspired by you, man. That's just one of the beautiful things about what you've done and I appreciate that you've been sharing in the way you have and putting it out and coming on the shows like this and just putting it out there. So just thanks for that. So you mentioned some of the things that you've noticed about yourself and knowing yourself in a real intimate way now. Was there anything else? Because that was on one of the part of the list here, was how has it changed your relationship with yourself, which sounds weird because, I mean, in some ways we contain multitudes, right? There's us, and then like there's the thinking mind that's trying to protect us and kind of thinking about who we are. Like, why are there two voices in that head?
Well, maybe we talked about it in earlier podcasts, but I'd say what was really transformative was that first year and a half of walking, especially down to Argentina or so. That first 4 months, I was able to work through that first relationship, that first romantic relationship with my first long-term girlfriend, and ending that. And that was something that happened basically. We had ended 2 years before I started the walk, and I thought I had resolved everything. And then I started walking, and kind of all your thoughts are revealed to you when you're walking. There's no place to hide. Your thoughts just keep coming up. And then you go, oh no, you did not work through this. There's still a lot to work through. And so it took like 4 months to really resolve and put that relationship behind me. And then kind of the same thing happened, but on a larger scale of my whole life over the next year and a half. And especially when I got into the deserts of Peru and in Chile, and I really had a lot of space and a lot of empty hours to just turn over my thoughts. And when I was in that stretch of desert for maybe 6 months or so, I was really turning over, all of my influences, my parents, these choices I made, my memories, and you go over everything so many times, and you look at something briefly, and then you put it aside, and then maybe a week later, 2 weeks later, you pick up that same memory or that same influence, and you look at it from a different angle, and you do that over and over and over again, and then you understand it, and you can set it aside. And so there's a certain point in Chile when I was walking through the desert, and I remember thinking, it's like I've thought all the thoughts. Like I have no more thoughts left to think, and
it's like reaching the end of the internet. I didn't know it was possible.
Yeah, I reached the end of the scroll, and then I laid in the desert at night and be under a million stars in the Atacama Desert, especially on the plateau there, and just you would see the galactic core every night, and it's just an insane amount of stars, and they would just sit on me like an elephant and just crush me and remind me that you are literally nothing. You are nothing. Just a reminder. But it being there in that kind of mental state as well, allowed me to, I think, or I tried to build up from the foundation. It's like, okay, what matters then? If you are nothing, and obviously, there's, you don't take anything with you, and you're going to go and, in the blink of a moment. And so what matters? And when it came down to it, was happiness is the only measure, because it's, being happy, making other people happy. And even though that sounds, it's pretty amorphous or vague, but everything should be aimed towards that goal. Whether when you look at wealth, it's what do you have wealth for? It's to make yourself happy and to make other people happy. And again, that encompasses a lot. I mean, it encompasses having security, but also having some sort of sense of adventure, and then being able to socialize and be able to do that safely. So it just encompasses a lot, but really it all comes down to just that is that's, what matters. And so, when I think about the relationship with myself, a lot of it stems from that year and a half of really, really deep work, kind of happening even in the background, and just knowing myself. And so now, when I met Bonnie, it was in a way that I wouldn't have been able to when I was younger, I like recognized, and this is like this is going to be a strange sort of metaphor or simile, but it was like finding a really good campsite. When I met Bonnie, it was like, this is a great campsite. And I never would have recognized it or maybe appreciated it in the way I had now, because, I would have been striving for other things, or maybe I would have, just wouldn't have known what I wanted in the same way. At this point now, I'm more assured in the things that I want and what I want out of life, and yes, because I know myself. But I do think about I do think about that with her, is that so like there's a lot of times I'm camping in really strange places. I've slept everywhere imaginable, and some really loud places, or ones with just 20,000 mosquitoes around me in like the banana plantations of like Ecuador. He just camped under these banana trees, and there's so many mosquitoes, and it's just insane. And but there's these times where when I'm finishing the day, I start looking for a place to sleep, and depending on how much daylight there is, it's like, okay, if there's a lot of daylight, I was like, I will just anyway, it all depends. And generally, I give myself a time limit, and it's like, okay, an hour before the sun goes down, the next campsite you find, just take it, kind of thing. And if it's good or bad, you just take it, because you can't be always looking for the perfect campsite. If it's okay, just take it. But occasionally, say I set that time limit, but it's an hour and a half, not an hour, but there's this perfect little glade, and there's grass, and the light's coming in nice, and it's quiet, and it's away from everyone. It's like, you know what? I'm stopping a little early today, because that is a perfect campsite. And so that strangely was like, it was the same sensation. Such a weird metaphor simile, but like when I met Bonnie, it was like, that is a nice campsite. And again, this is a weird way to say it, but I think that also was from like knowing myself really well, and knowing like the limitations of myself, and knowing also, just recognizing like, be happy with this campsite, take that campsite.
Yeah. You contextualize it. So it doesn't sound strange, coming from the experience that you're speaking from, right? Like you needed to find a place to sleep every night. So that's a big deal when you say you find a nice place that feels right. It makes you happy, It makes a lot of sense to me. Was there a relationship before this with the universe, higher power, God, whatever you want to call it, something you believe? You mentioned being under the stars, and I'm just wondering if that changed how you think about that sort of stuff at all, or if that's just I don't know where you're at with all that.
Yeah, no, I'm not spiritual, not religious kind of anyway. There's part of me that, thinks it'd be really nice to be spiritual and religious, and to have that sense of, just maybe wonder or awe. But I get it in kind of a much, more, I don't know, cold or pragmatic way. And I do have a lot of appreciation, especially for like when I was in Kyrgyzstan, which is just an insanely beautiful, kind of untouched country. That really put me in awe of nature again, in a way that I hadn't been probably since like Chile, and the desert there. And so I do have like this appreciation for the beauty of nature. And I think, but the way I almost think about it is like, it's like a necessity for humans. And it when you're going through, say, like a rougher part of Philadelphia, and you're like, well, it's because there's no trees around. I mean, it's not rougher because there are no trees, but people are, it feels rougher because there are no trees. And you go to wealthier areas, and there's trees everywhere, and it's green. And so I think like the nature and stuff, and like the spirituality, it all, I think I was a psychology major in college, and it's all just like, how do you play into the humanness? And so that's kind of where like there's no real spirituality, and there's no real, there's definitely no religion. It's more just like, what does it mean to be human, and how do you be a good human, and how do you, satisfy that?
What does it mean to be human?
It means to be flawed and stupid and small and hopefully, sociable and striving. Yeah, it's just, leaning into your limitations and knowing that, like, sitting inside in front of a computer, you're not going to be happy, even though it might, like, satisfy some immediate, like, you get some hits of dopamine from scrolling. Uh, but you got to go for the walk. You got to go out and get some sunlight, because that is going to make you happier. And you got to spend time with your family, because it's going to make you happier. And, but also be working towards something, because you need some sort of deeper satisfaction as well. And you need to feel like you're progressing, even if it's in a small way. So it means a lot of things, but it really just means that, you're small and you're limited, and everyone else is too. So you got to remember that as well. It's another reason why, like, geography and systems are just so important. Like, I would cross these countries, across these borders, and you could see the change at the border. I mean, Ecuador into Peru was the big one. You're from Ecuador, this beautiful city, Macara, kids are in the hammock reading textbooks, great ceviche restaurants, and then you cross into Peru, and it's families are taking the donkey to go get water from the well because they don't have any running water. And it's like, the difference is, first off, the geography. They're in the desert. Macara is getting a runoff from the Andes. And then it's the systems. And also, every time I've been in a dictatorship or an autocracy versus a democracy, like Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan. Uzbekistan, I think, ostensibly is wealthier than Kyrgyzstan. But I would live in Kyrgyzstan 100 out of 100 times, because you just feel that people are more relaxed and they're not worried about something looming over them. And so, again, it's like, the systems really matter, because people are small. People are really, really small. And so you need healthcare, like, and you need good infrastructure, and you need to protect, nature, to have nature around them, and clean water. And, there's just a lot of things that go into it. But this idea that, every person can just, if you just willpower, this guy just needs to work harder. So that is not taking into account these enormous, enormous forces around us. And it's arrogant, and it's cold, and it's just wrong that you think that someone can just willpower their way through life. And to think anyone who's a success did that just through willpower is absolutely absurd.
Yeah. What does success mean to you in terms of your future? I'm using air quotes around success. Like, how do you define that now?
Yeah, I'm still kind of figuring that out. I'm not sure. For me, what I'm putting a lot of value on is hopefully writing this book. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time. And also, I think it'll be a big, complex problem that'll be a lot of fun to work through. And also, it'll, like, allow me to share the story in a more in-depth way. I think right now it's, success for me is, again, ultimately, really, I mean, even on a more fundamental level, like, part of the reason, I want to write as well is that, because then I kind of own my own time. And I think that is, if I can live the rest of my life not working a 9 to 5, not to say that's the worst thing in the world, but, like, if I can live the rest of my life doing things I want to do, and even just, like, if I'm bored sitting around, it's like, oh man, I don't know what to do with myself. That's a success, because, at least, I own my time, and I can be bored, and, and then figure out what I want to do from there. So yeah, I'm not sure, but I'm still figuring it out.
And we've touched on this a bit through you answering these questions, but money also, this practical thing that you mentioned, a lot of, it's a tool to happiness essentially, but everybody has a different relationship with money. I'm not sure what yours was before the walk and what it is now. Just curious.
Yeah, there was a period, like, returning to the U.S., or when I was walking across the U.S., when I was was probably the first time I experienced real stress in a long time. As stress is in like anxiety stress of some amorphous problem looming over me. And that was about money. It's because I was going from this really cheap lifestyle. And all of a sudden I was thinking, I'm going to have to pay rent and I'm going to have to, have bills and all these other things. And how am I going to make money when, now that the walk's over, stopping, the sponsorship's going to stop and Patreon is I'm going to turn off. And so I got to figure out something else. But I think I'm very fortunate that I think I've played the game pretty well. I've played life fairly well, and that I have a story which is compelling enough that I will be able to do these speaking engagements, and it's pretty good money. And write the book. And so I should be able to like leverage the walk into, making a living elsewhere. But yeah, I mean, you need money and, I have no problem working. And when I was younger, before the walk, I worked, like crazy because I was working towards something. And, I'm sure work takes on a very different meaning when, you have kids and you got to take care of your kids. And, that's the most important thing. And, this is a means to an end. It depends on where you're at in life. And, if you need money to keep a roof over your kid's house, hey, I'd be working 2 jobs if I had to. And I'm sure a lot of people do. So, it depends. And it's just, in the ideal world, you build a utopia. There is no money. We're all on the USS Enterprise. And, we live in a perfect, perfectly egalitarian place, but, money is a tool and, if it depends on what you want out of life and that's how you use it. That's how you spend it.
Isn't life strange?
Just so complex.
I can't wait to have you back on when the book comes out. I can't wait to read it. Just keep us posted on that. I want to talk about like the last day coming across the finish line. You mentioned in your last post about it that it was just really less about, what did you say? The homecoming, though overwhelming, was the flood of friends and family I ached for, and just this sense of relief. Anything else you want to share about kind of the end of it?
Yeah, the end was really surreal. So I ended back where I started in New Jersey, in Haddon Township, and my sister and my mom in particular, and then Philadelphia Sign, my sponsor, planned this like homecoming at this big bar and grill. And so I like walked past my house where I began and then walked up to the bar and grill. And I had, at that point, maybe 30 people walking with me, and there's people lining the streets of my town and signs out.
You just walked out your front door, right? When you left.
And initially, yeah, that's how I started, yeah.
And back to your front door. I mean, what a moment.
Yeah, it was wild. And so I walked past my house where I started and then walked up to the bar and grill, and it was really beautiful, but it didn't fully hit me. It was so crazy. I mean, seeing people standing out the front door, waving me on and like cheering me on. I had friends walking with me. I had people walking me from Philadelphia. So I had this big group of people with me. And then when I got to, when I reached the tap room, the bar and grill, and there's 500 plus people out there. And that's when, it really hit me that like it's over. And I was first off, coming in and seeing all these people. It was like, I felt really honored that like everyone had come out and it was just amazing to see all these people who felt, inspired or for some reason connected to me and Savannah. But then when I crossed the finish line, it was just like, oh, it's over. Like I finished it. Like it felt like I was crawling towards the finish line over the past, 7 months of walking across the US. And, the World Walk has brought me a lot and definitely has changed my life and it's changed me. But it was really, really big, and it dominated 15 years of my life. It dominated my life since I was 17. And to cross that finish line and just have it finally be finished was just such a profound relief. And say, all right, I never have to go walk through the rain again if I don't want to. I don't have to walk through 100-degree heat. I don't have to worry about where I'm going to sleep. I don't have to worry about, being in a sketchy area or just being exhausted and still needing to, push on. And so that was it. That was the moment where I just was able to shed that weight and completed this, very, very large project.
If you had to go back and walk across one of those countries again, which one would you do?
Infrastructure wise, like France is just a piece of cake. France or Germany would be the cakewalk. There's great bike routes and it's very calm and safe and good food and water everywhere. But I'd also say probably like Turkey. Turkey is such a great country, and again, there's clean water everywhere because you get the Muslims doing the ablutions, cleaning themselves, and so you have these great fountains everywhere in every town, and people are so nice. And Turkey's a great spot. I would definitely go back there in a heartbeat. Walking, I don't know if I'm going to be doing any more walking though.
But those are 3 great countries you'd recommend. Because I have like a much smaller bucket list item to just walk across a country. Just one.
Nice.
I mean, there's some countries I could probably do that in a couple days. I know there's parts of Norway that's pretty thin, but something a little meaty would be nice. I mean, France sounds kind of nice. You can stop, get some wine, get some baguettes and cheese. You're selling me here.
You should do France. France is great. Or even just do the Camino. The Camino is amazing for that. You have this community around you, and the infrastructure is kind of built up where you get a town like every 10 miles. You can stop for a cappuccino if you want, or a Radler in the middle of the day.
Now we're talking.
I would say though, if you really are honest, if you really want to do that, France is a great country to do that, and there's great bike infrastructure. It'd be so peaceful.
Nice. Any other places that you visited that kind of stand out enough where you'd want to go see them again someday, or you're just like, I'm never going back to any of them. I'm only going to go to new places.
Definitely Georgia. Georgia is one of my favorite countries for sure. I think really in contrast to Azerbaijan as well, because Azerbaijan is this dictatorship under the Aliyevs, and there's this pretty big wealth disparity. It feels kind of like a sleepy place. And then Georgia right next door is just like bursting with life, and there's amazing art, and it's young, and there's really good food. The wine is some of the best wine in the world. It just really feels like it's this young democracy, and they're fighting for democracy, and it's just really, really vibrant place. So I would definitely go back to Tbilisi and around Georgia and just explore some more of that and see the northern parts of Georgia, which would have been nice. But yeah, that's up there for sure.
Nice. I'm just going to say, look out, Bruce Springsteen, because New Jersey has a new favorite son right here. Dude, I really appreciate you just coming on and sharing the way you have. And how, I was so excited for you to finish this and to just hear from you and learn from you, share this conversation with everybody listening, and kind of complete this trilogy. And we've been following you for these years through this whole thing and the ups and downs and everything. And I cannot find the right words other than thanks for just being you, and putting yourself out there in the way that you do, being honest with everything you do, being authentic, keeping it real. Yeah, just being you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. I'm glad we were able to complete the trilogy. I was very much looking forward to it. Always good talking with you.
You too, man. I want everybody to go on to theworldwalk.com. Do you have a place where people can sign up for like an email list or something, by the way, so they can get notified when the book comes out?
Just Instagram. I'll share on there. That'll probably be the main one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where a lot of your audience is, and look forward to having you back. Look forward to meeting in person someday. And
absolutely.
I don't know, having a coffee or a beer somewhere.
Yeah, hopefully in Oslo. Hopefully I'll get up to Oslo soon enough.
Do it. Any parting words of wisdom?
Yeah, sure. I'd say, people are really small, and that's important to remember. But so you have to practice and just radical empathy with others, but also with yourself. I always think about this in the desert. It was like, you can't walk around the world in a day. Literally this took me 15 years. And I had a friend in Lima and I couldn't wait to go see him when I was there. And I would try and walk these 30-mile days and I would get too tired. So I'd ended up finding out that, okay, you do 24 miles a day. And that is like the most you can walk. I could, in a single day, I could have walked much more, but I could do 24 miles a day every day consistently. If you're working towards some bigger project, do a little bit of work every day, be satisfied with it, set it aside, do it again the next day. And if the day doesn't go well, that's all right. You're small and you have these bigger forces working around you. So cut yourself some slack and cut other people some slack too.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for that. Thanks for your time today and look forward to staying in touch.
Yeah. Thanks, Jason.
Cheers.
Wow, what a journey. Thank you, Tom, for sharing your stories with us. If you want to keep up with Tom and Savannah, check out tomtursich.com. Tom recently wrote a very sweet-looking children's book called Savannah's World of Adventure, which will be available soon. And of course, you can follow Jason on Zero to Travel wherever you listen to podcasts or visit zerototravel.com. Thanks again, Jason. Ready for more unpacking? Visit afar.com and be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. The magazine is at Afar Media. If you enjoyed today's exploration, I hope you'll come back for more great stories. Subscribing makes this easy. You can find Unpacked on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform. And be sure to rate and review the show. It helps other travelers find it. This season, we also want to hear from you. Is there a travel dilemma, trend, or topic you'd like us to explore? Drop us a line at afar.com/feedback or email us at unpacked@afar.com. This has been Unpacked, a production of Afar Media. The podcast is produced by Aislinn Green and Nikki Galteland. Music composition by Chris Collin. And remember, the world is complicated. We're here to help you unpack it.